Okay, we've had a tremendous couple of days here at the Australian Tourism Exchange 2008, talking to people responsible for marketing, destinations, airlines, some of the challenges and issues that face the industry over the years to come, including fuel, exchange rates, economies downturning around the world and so on. But I think one of the things that we sort of tend to ignore is actually how does this industry sort of get there? What about the training? How do we make people more professional? And I just bumped into Don Jolly. Now Don's the General Manager of Global Tourism Solutions, and he's got a long track record in the industry, and he's applying that now into training solutions. So Don, good to see you at ATE.
Yeah, and you.
Tell me a bit about what you're doing, because I was interested to see, and I tell you what I'd be interested to know about. In your wandering around ATE here, do you think that maybe some people could do some things a little differently in terms of the way they approach their marketing and their training?
I think we have to do things differently. I think we have to adapt our presentations, not only to the market, but to the changing circumstances. Being a little bit more passionate, using some storytelling ideas to sort of get your unique selling points over, rather than the list of features, you know. So rather than saying 28 swimming pools or 15 golf courses.
Yeah, so what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's in it for the customer? And I think some do it reasonably well, and others I think could look at their presentation and say, hey, how could I do it just that little bit better?
Sure. Do you think there's an element here of death by PowerPoint as well? Because I've seen some exhaustive and turgid-looking PowerPoints, not least of all in the media conferences.
Yes,
but wandering around some of the booths and thinking, you know, after 30 or 40 appointments, these buyers going around must be exhausted seeing the same old nonsense.
Well, I think everybody's exhausted. And I think the one thing I get is that people want to know about you. They buy John or they buy Don.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily buy that hotel or that guest house. So I think the idea is get that across first.
Yeah.
That's where stories come across so well, in telling what other people have done. So you're getting third-party references to sell it
There's
for
a
you.
prime example of training there, right? Okay, we're talking, and somebody goes past with a garbage container, which shouldn't be in the public domain of a place like this.
Yeah,
you know, it's all about this. So, where do you think the Australian tourism industry fits and the professionals in this industry fit in terms of the quality of the product we provide? And is customer service good in Australia, or could it be better?
Well, I think it's reasonable. I think the challenge that we've got is that we're changing staff so frequently that the need to keep these guys to a professional level is very challenging, because it's a case of continual training. It's like finishing the bridge and starting to paint all over again.
Sure, yeah.
That's what's really needed. And finding out, why do you love this industry? That's what I ask. What really brought you into this industry, and what's keeping you here? You know?
And you're clearly very passionate about all this, you know, because I can tell in your eyes even that, you know, even though you're, I would say, on the more mature side, like myself, you know, it's hard to maintain that enthusiasm and so on. So what sort of programs do you offer the industry?
Well, first thing is we start at the head, if you like, the strategy. You know, where are we now, and what are the challenges or opportunities, and where do we need to be, and what do we need to do to get there? So we sort of look at the strategy, but some companies say, well, look, really it's not the strategy, it's the customer service. One thing I've found is never one or the other. It's a combination of things. So we look at the strategies, we look at the sales training, and the one thing we do is that quite often we might make a suggestion to you, for example. We might say, try this or do something different.
Sure.
And they might say, no, I've done it. But when you use video role plays and you play it back and people see how others see them, that becomes a very powerful coaching tool. So we do top to bottom, global strategies, tourism sales, and customer service.
Give me some examples of that, naming names, of course, where you've gone into organisations and identified, you know, from the strategic level, some really amazing challenges, and how those have cascaded through the business, and how they've had a positive impact at the end. Maybe they didn't, but you know, I hope they did. But give me some examples, a case study, maybe.
Well, there's one very large company that we're working with at the moment, and one thing that they've done is they've said, we are opening in 3 months' time, and we want to get more of the Asian markets. And the funny thing is, they had nothing in Asian, nothing was translated. So we started developing programs that were more suited for that market, if that's what they're after first. And then we burrowed down and said, well, Asia's too broad. So let's burrow down, and we suggested it's really the mature markets in Asia, and for this client it was Singapore, Malaysia and Hong Kong, and we focused on those, and then we started to get some business because they could understand the product a lot more better than saying, well, let's get everybody in Asia.
And do you focus on the cultural issues in terms of how they address the market? What are the taboos and what are the ways to approach people?
It's funny, most people are alike, but there maybe sometimes there's little things that they need to get done differently, and it could be anything from chili sauce on the table, all the way through to even showing an interest in that person's language, and it could be the ni hao ma. It doesn't mean you have to be fluent in Mandarin, but just little touches.
Try a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where do you think, Australian tourism, it's a massive industry. We've heard some huge numbers in the last few days.
Sure.
We've got some huge challenges ahead of us in terms of economic downturns, fuel and all this sort of stuff. Do you think the Australian tourism industry is well positioned in its personnel and its people, or is there more scope for doing it more effectively and doing it better?
Well, there's definitely more scope for doing it better. We've got 5 million a year, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I know everybody wants more and more. But I think the challenge is going to be, where are we going to get the staff from?
Yeah.
How do we attract them? How do we train them when we get them? And how do we keep them in our industry? That's going to be the long-term challenge for the industry. And I think training, when people see, hey, people are investing in you and I, they think they value me. And that's a powerful way of keeping staff in the industry.
Absolutely.
Saying, well, we want your comments, we want your commitment, and by the way, we're going to do some training for you as well.
Excellent. Well, Don, thank you very much indeed for your time today. It's interesting talking to somebody at the strategic level of the industry as well, because so much of this is the colourful front end. It's the sexy end, but the reality is behind the scenes, there's so much to be done. And just quickly before we go, are companies really recognising that now increasingly, that they've got to get it right before they go out to market?
Yes and no. I can understand the no's, because people are desperate in some cases. They may be affected by oil prices or flights, and they say, I've got to get something somewhere, somehow. But others are starting to take a more strategic, longer-term view, and understanding it takes 12 or 18 months, probably longer in some cases, to get that business.
Now, how do people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you about how you can help them?
Well, we're on the website, obviously, donjolly.com. They can call us on the landline 075520 0868 or 5898, or they can fax us, but probably the email might be the easiest thing. I think donjolly@people.net.au, and happy to discuss any opportunities or projects, how we can facilitate and really ramp up the business in Australia.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Really appreciated the discussion.
Likewise.
John Alwyn-Jones reporting for Travel Mall TV from the Australian Tourism Exchange 2008, and I've been speaking with Don Jolly, Managing Director of Global Tourism. I've got to get it right now. Global Tourism Strategies. Correct?
Great.
Thank you.